crucifixion, you're gonna get used to it.
Welcome to the Too Old or Pure Gold Movie Podcast. In today's special Easter episode, we're discussing the 1979 religious satire movie Life of Brian. I picked this title because it's set at Easter, the first Easter, which the internet says is 33 AD. The format of our podcast, two Gen Xers rewatch beloved movies from our youth to find out are they really as good as we remember. To help us debate and ultimately pass judgment, we ask our millennial co-host to watch these movies for the first time and help us determine, are they too old or pure gold? I'm your host, Olen Vanderleeden, representing Gen X. Joining me today is my Gen X co-host, Mathew Stockton.
Hello.
Representing the millennials this week, we have robe and sandal fashion fan Sean.
Hello.
And representing Gen Z, we have actor and New York resident Evan Mallick.
Hello.
Before we get into this episode, just a reminder, we need your support to grow this podcast, so please remember to like, follow, subscribe, and tell a friend. Today's movie is the 1979 comedy movie Life of Brian. Life of Brian stars the cast of Monty Python, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, Graham Chapman, Michael Palin, and Eric Idle. The movie is directed by Terry Jones. This was Terry's second time in the director's chair after the first movie, The Holy Grail, another Monty Python movie. He did go on to direct a few other films, but they're mostly Monty Python cast-based movies, so that's his zone. The tagline from the movie poster is, "He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy." IMDb describes the film as, born on the original Christmas day in the stable next door to Jesus, Brian of Nazareth spends his life being mistaken for the Messiah. Now, for those of you that have not seen the movie, I asked my 94-year-old dad to watch Life of Brian and summarize the plot.
I feel like this will be a good one.
I think so too.
This religious satire has been widely praised and condemned, promoted and banned, and most other opposites that you can think of. But one thing is for sure, most viewers take a strong position. Well, the story starts when Brian is born in a stable next door to Jesus. Unfortunately, he is mistaken for the Messiah, in spite of his and his parents' strong denial. Well, no matter what, Brian is relentlessly stalked by his frantic, devoted followers. This leads to all kinds of absurd events. And then towards the end of the show, we see the puzzling mass crucifixion where Brian and the other victims sing the upbeat song, "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life." Anyway, lots to consider and debate, so enjoy.
Mathew, you got a lot of British in you. Why don't you kick us off? What do you think of Life of Brian? And I'm assuming this is a rewatch for you.
Yeah, so Monty Python is the most overrated troupe and series of movies that has ever existed.
I did not expect it to go this way. Keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, the Life of Brian feels like a sketch show that walked into a movie theater and kind of forgot why it was there. It's just conveyor belt of gags versus a good movie. I'm not a Monty Python fan at all.
Okay, interesting start.
There you go.
No, but tell us how you really feel about it. Don't hold back.
Okay, Gen Z, what did you think?
I mean, I agree that it's definitely a conveyor belt of sketches, but that is kind of what you expect when you go into a Monty Python movie. Like, I'm not walking into Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I'm not walking into Life of Brian for the compelling plot. I'm walking in to see, like, them compare Gladiator Arena for the children's matinee. That's what I'm looking for.
But you can watch it on TV.
You can, and you can watch it in the movie theaters when Monty Python does it. I don't know. I think I'm not. I mean, it's not going to win any awards, but I do think that it's a really good example of this kind of exaggerated style of comedy. So I think it's definitely got its audience. I think it's funny.
Sean, how do the millennials feel about this movie?
Well, this one's a funny thing for me because I can enjoy Monty Python. I think I texted you that, to me, Monty Python is sometimes, brilliant and hilarious and then sometimes dumb and problematic. So I was really excited to see this movie. I hadn't seen this movie before. I don't feel like this movie was that funny. It just felt like they wanted the satire and forgot the funny.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I'm gonna spend this time defending Monty Python.
Hold on.
Yeah,
This
that is now
Oh,
your role.
no, wait.
Oh,
We got one more Gen X to go.
yeah, we do.
Who?
Me?
Oh,
Did you think I got a special guest behind the curtain, Matthew? And now, Eric Idle. No. So for me, okay. First of all, I started out by calling this movie genius, and then I had a long debate with Kim about is it genius or is it stupid or is it in between. But first of all, as I watch it, I realize how much influence this movie has had on my life, because there's multiple quotes in this movie that I use on a regular basis, like a weekly basis. And I haven't watched this movie in over 20 years. I really enjoyed rewatching it. For me, there's an undeniable charm to Monty Python and their comedy style. I think they take risks like long before anyone else did, and risks you couldn't take anymore today. And I assume we'll get into it in the discussion. But for me, it's a really weird balance of silly and genius at the same time. Like they take what I think are really interesting positions, and then they come with a silly gag to kind of communicate their feelings on it, which I think is smart. So, Evan, I'm with you. We can defend this film against these two guys, but I loved it.
I'll take a 2-on-2. That's good for me. I'm ready to go.
All right. So I feel like we need to leave a lot of time for favorite lines in this episode, but just to start us off, Evan and Sean, you guys obviously familiar with Monty Python and how they started?
I don't know if I know how they started. I mean,
With the flying circus?
What is it, Black?
I know of the flying circus. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on it. I mean, I'm mostly familiar just with their forays into film with Holy Grail and Life of Brian.
Well, Monty Python started in 1969 with the BBC show Monty Python's Flying Circus, and they claim it completely changed comedy. Instead of traditional punchlines and sketches, they leaned into more absurd humor, surreal transitions, and jokes that sometimes just ended for no reason. So I already read the cast, but those are the guys that started it, and then they moved into the movies with Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which, Evan, you said you saw, was their first one and became a cult classic, and then this was their second movie. After this, they went on to do The Meaning of Life. So they had this whole cast did other movies, but as Monty Python, they had 3 movies. And then kind of went on to their separate ways, doing other films, like Michael Palin doing Brazil, for example, which is a pretty famous movie. And then the guys took the Holy Grail and turned it into Spam-A-Lot, which is pretty popular Broadway show. Anyhow, so Matt,
I'm kind of impressed that there's only 3 movies and you somehow picked the one I hadn't seen.
oh, well, there you go. Well, I picked it for Easter. I mean, I'm always looking for an Easter theme movie, and I thought this would be a pretty good one to do. I think this might even be the oldest film we've ever done on this podcast at 1979.
Now, the question is this an Easter-themed movie? Because, I mean, Brian not being the Messiah doesn't really resurrect, so an argument could be made that this is really more of a Good Friday movie.
Good point. Maybe I'll have to release it
The
early.
movie ended. We don't know he doesn't resurrect.
See?
Oh, that's true. That's true. The movie does end, so we're not sure if he's coming back or not.
That's true. That's true. So, Matthew, I think it's funny that you don't like this, but Monty Python's beloved with British people, right?
well, all of the actors that are in it individually have done great stuff, and Flying Circus as a TV show is funny. But you know who does Monty Python better than Monty Python? Mel Brooks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's very similar style.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles. That'll be a good title to do one day. Well, Matthew, do you think it's just silly comedy, or is it genius, or is it somewhere in between?
It's it broke the rules back at the time. Of course it did, right? And yeah, I can remember laughing at it when I was young, right? Because I kind of grew up with this in a lot of ways, but I just don't think it's aged at all. It might have been really genius for like the moment at the time, I'm not sure, but I just don't think it's aged well. And don't get me wrong, there's a great gags, like there's a few fantastic gags in there, right? But I just find it too aggressively repetitive.
It's funny you say that, Matthew, because I was wondering if age had really hurt this movie, because I frequently was thinking to myself, I know what the next scene is. I know what the next gag is. I know what the next joke is.
Really?
And
Yeah, it's sort of like the blasphemy at the time has softened into a wink for today's age, if you know what I mean.
I do.
I, I don't know if it, at least personally for me, it doesn't feel like the humor has watered down necessarily with age. It feels like it's more of shifted. I feel like absurdism is almost becoming a little bit more popular in kind of today's sphere of comedy. And instead of the humor coming from like, oh my gosh, this is Christian and we're making fun of it, who can believe that? The humor is more of now applying almost like contemporary ideas to like old timey practices, like when they're going to the stoning and they go and they have to like purchase a bunch of rocks and then they throw in a bag of gravel. Like that to me is one of the better sketches, because it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna treat like an old fashioned stoning like a modern day sporting event, and you've got to go and you got to pick up your peanuts and your hot dogs beforehand, and you're gonna go to the stoning. Like that I feel like is where Monty Python really thrives, when they've got these kind of comparing old timey things to things that we would recognize in the modern
Well,
day.
Matthew, you question whether it's aged poorly or not. I actually think it's more relevant than ever in a way. I mean, the topics they pick up, mob mentality, this whole idea of words hurt. Like, we've just come out of the woke era where, individual words seem to hurt people when they're just words, right? Like those political factionism, religious dogma, like all of these things really feel like they've been relevant in the last few years, and these are the topics they picked up. So to me, I looked at it and I said like, oh, this is hilarious and so relevant to where we've been the last few years in the world. But
Well, some of those things are relevant, but I just didn't feel like the blasphemy was as edgy as it used to be.
okay.
It's not your style of blasphemy.
I like my blasphemy on steroids.
Naturally.
Anybody here got any actual religious tendencies? Matthew, you've read the Bible, right?
I've read the Bible, then I read the Torah and realized it's the Old Testament with different footnotes. And I've read the Quran, and I've read a lot of other Jewish texts, and I've read a lot of Buddhism, and I've read a lot of Hinduism as well.
Okay, so then you're the guy to ask this question. Do I need to read the Bible if I've seen this movie, or does this cover it?
You probably you should read it. It's interesting.
Okay, maybe.
It's an interesting perspective on a time.
Okay. So is this movie. Okay, before we move on to the next section, I did have a question, which is, what do you think is the worst death, crucifixion or stoning?
I think it's gotta be stoning, right?
Oh,
I mean, crucifixion, you're just hanging there.
Yeah,
And
crucifixion's
that's
kind
awful,
of
obviously, but
crucifixion's sexier.
the crucifixion
It's
feels like a
sexier.
slow, like you're baking in the sun with nails through your body, constantly in pain for days and days, suffering. Stoning would be bad, but it just takes getting lucky with one rock to the head, and you can be over with it.
That's true.
I also think though, like conversely, crucifixion, you're gonna get used to it. Like if you're hanging up there by like 2 days in, the pain's just gonna go to a dull throb. Like there's only so much you can get to. Whereas stoning, you get a chance to recover in between each stone.
Yeah, but
And also, it's your like peers and friends doing
That's a good sales pitch, by the way, Evan. Crucifixion, you'll get used to it.
it. You'll get used to it. How bad could it possibly be?
Stoning, it was frowned upon to try to get like a particularly big rock to do it, because the whole point was that not one person's killing them, but the entire community is.
And there's something beautiful about that.
I don't know. I think in the modern world, if you did this, it would be a driving range, right? You'd bury someone up to their neck out in a driving range.
Is that cool?
Question is anyone have a good enough range to make that an actual execution, or is it just going to be one person standing there, just kind of like near the balls?
No. Okay, well let's roll into best parts. What did you guys like from this movie? I got a long list, but let's see what you guys have.
I liked the endless revolutionary splinter groups, people who agreed on everything except for what to call themselves. I liked how the authority figures were never evil, just deeply incompetent. And the crowd scenes, mass psychology, turned into slapstick sociology because it's still depressingly accurate. Pontius Pilate's speech impediment is aggressively juvenile but perfectly deployed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hilarious. Okay, so I'll roll through some of my lists. Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. For me, one of the most iconic endings of a comedy movie ever, and I literally think that's one of the funniest premises ever. Makes me laugh every time I watch it. I watch that clip from the movie on a regular basis. Love the song. Just love how funny that ending is. Evan, you mentioned it, the stoning scene.
Stoning is fantastic.
Are there any women here? And stop it or it'll get worse for you. Like, how can it get worse? I love that part. Okay, Evan, what did you like?
I kind of said it before. I think this is at its best when they're not dedicating themselves to like a 10-minute long sketch and it's like a quick throwaway line. Like when they're walking through the line to all pick up their crucifixions and the guy goes, "Oh no, it'll be freedom for me today." And the guard believes him and he goes, No, just kidding. I'm not freedom. Today it'll be crucifixion. And then he gets his cross and he goes and gets crucified. Like that just like the quick sketches like that, those are my favorite parts. Or like when he's preaching as the Messiah and he goes, "Consider the birds. They don't have jobs." And everyone goes, "Of course the birds don't have jobs." And a crowd gathers and they're like, "What is this guy talking about?" And he goes, "The birds are scrounging." He thinks he's making fun of the birds for being unemployed. Like that, and then they just move on and they don't address that at all. Like that I think is where we're at our best. Those are all my
agreed.
favorites.
I mean, and these guys have their origins in sketch comedy, right? That's what they did. Very short, quick comedy scenes. Sean, what did you like from this? There must have been a few scenes that made you chuckle.
Oh, for sure. I was very entertained by the haggling scene.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy being mad that he wasn't haggling.
Yeah.
That amused me. Also, the carrying the stakes at the end. I liked when the guy just handed it off to someone and then that guy got dragged through.
Can I get down if he comes back?
Yeah. That
Yeah,
one
sure,
made
man.
me laugh. And the Latin lesson when he was...
Perfect. I had that.
Yeah.
Conjugate the verb.
Because I don't know why, but somehow I could totally imagining that happening in real life where someone was doing graffiti and the cop is actually more mad that he got it wrong.
It was hilarious and so well done. Like, you have to actually know Latin to be able to do that speech, I think. You can't just memorize that. That was a lot. Mathew, you must have laughed at that.
I laughed at some points. Yeah, I'm not saying I didn't laugh. I'm not completely dour.
Okay.
And they're funny bits. I just think the gusto in which people go on and on and on and on about Monty Python is.
Well, I have to say Monty Python is a little bit divisive in that there's people that hate it and then there's people that absolutely love it. And I'm entertained by Monty Python. I enjoy the movies. I'm not one of those Monty Python people that...
My husband, who's a Brit, calls it, quote, idiot humor.
There you go. Maybe that's why I liked it. Okay, I had one more part that makes me laugh every time I see it, which is, what did the Romans ever give us? Right? Do you remember that scene?
Oh, that was also good.
What have they ever done for us?
might be
Romans
my
have done
favorite
nothing
one,
for us. Well, the aqueduct, right. Other than that, what have they done for us? And the aqueduct, sanitation, roads, irrigation, medicine, education, wine, public order, fresh water. That's a bit, Evan, that went on for a while, but it was worth it, right?
I think it definitely paid off. And also, they brought it back again when they got to the end of the crucifixion. They go, "We're going to get rid of all of the Romans, except for, of course, the ones involved in," and then they go and take the entire list. Like, that's how you finish a bit.
So people that didn't love it, what were the worst parts of this for you?
Sketches that ran I wrote notes. Sketches that ran exactly one beat too long, and then another.
Like which one?
Characters who
Give me an
exist-
example of that.
Like most of them, characters who exist solely to serve jokes and then vanish. I think there's long stretches where the film feels unwritten, and it feels like it has an allergy to momentum. As soon as it starts to feel like a movie, it immediately sabotages itself. And the assumption that anticlimax is automatically clever when it's just anticlimactic.
You know,
Those are my notes.
one of your notes, Matthew, kind of leans in, I think, to maybe my problem with Monty Python movies, but also why sometimes they work in my mind, is I feel like they're best at just sketches, not connected movies with themes in the stories.
And that's my point. Like, Flying Circus is fun. It's funny. Like it's just, I just don't understand why they felt the need to do 2-hour movies.
Well, the meaning of life.
Now-
The meaning of life was quite popular, and that's mostly sketches with a theme, right?
And when I think about the meaning of life, I don't ever think about the movie. I just think about, okay, yeah, here's the 3 sketches that really, really hit well for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, Evan, anything you didn't like about this movie? I've got one.
I mean, I think I agree with both of you in that it can lose its momentum and it does kind of meander. That's a problem I had with Holy Grail as well. That it did just kind of feel like it was jumping from thing to thing. But I think by the end of this movie, I had a bit of a revelation when we were going through Biggest Dickus, and I'm like, this was never going to be a movie with a plot or characterization or something that is compelling, and I don't think that that's what they were trying to make. I think this was just Monty Python came up with a whole bunch of unrelated sketches all pertaining to this period in history or to Christian like doctrine, and they're like, all right, we've got a whole bunch of these, we could probably make this into a movie. Similar to like Holy Grail, they had a bunch of sketches relating to like medieval Europe and to Camelot, and they're like, okay, great, we can make this into a movie. And so I think if you go in expecting it to be,
but could and should are 2 very different things.
I mean, this is true. This is true. But I think bad movies are made all of the time. And I think that if we're making things like Madam Web or we're making things like Morbius, I'm just dogging on Sony now, but I think that Monty Python doesn't exist in that camp at all because it doesn't try to be. Like, at no point are they trying to make this seem like it's a dramatic plot or like it's this big sprawling epic.
And
like,
don't get me wrong, I get why people like it, right? Like I wouldn't put somebody down for liking it. Just for me, it just doesn't land at all. And you're right, there are a lot of bad movies. I'd rather watch a Monty Python bad movie than a truly bad movie. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Buckle up for Jim Catta, by the way. Yeah, no, I find it so interesting. That's one of my favorite things about this podcast is how people can just have very different reactions to this movie. You know, I liked it so much on rewatch. I watched it on Friday, and then Kim and I talked about it probably for 4 or 5 hours after that. And
Jesus, you had too much time on your hands.
It sat with me so much, I thought, I need to watch this a second time. I almost watched it again last night. I ran out of time, but otherwise I would have, because I enjoyed it so much, and I just, there's so many little gags in this. Before we get on to favorite lines, because that's my most crowded category here, in worst parts. So for me, the worst part was that alien interlude.
Yeah, what was that? Why did they do that?
Why did they do that? Right smack in the middle of it, I had no idea why they did that. And I think they're known for just being silly, I guess, but it made no sense for me.
It feels like this is one where I'll take your side on this, Matthew. It feels like they had no idea where to end like that whole Biggest Dickus thing with him running away, and so they're like, wouldn't it be crazy if we just like threw something sci-fi in? And they're like, you know what, we're almost done. Yeah, just do it like that.
You're probably right.
Like that's what that felt like, because it was
what do we do? You're right. What do we do here? Right? Like, shit, alien. I know, aliens.
Yeah. You're like, well, that's stupid. But you know what? We got the rest of the movie's great, so we'll just like that's what that felt like.
There you go.
Yeah.
The best part about that scene for me was I stepped out to grab a snack when that one started, and I just heard Catherine go, "What?" And I would like look back in there's aliens, and I'm like, "Did you switch movies?
Change the channel?" Yeah, it was fun.
You guys, you know what it is actually. So, Olen, you know I'm a pretty good writer, right?
Yeah.
I think the problem is I feel like I could have written this movie because I'm really good at sort of short advertising lines and like short things, but I could never like put an entire book together. So it feels like I would have just chucked the alien thing in because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, everyone laughs at the alien thing until you're writing the movie, and then the alien thing's funny.
And then it makes sense, right?
Matthew, maybe you can borrow that for your Astrolabs brand.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, I'm going into favorite lines, and I've got a ton of them. I'll just throw one out. You're drunk. It's disgusting. I use that line like 10,000 times since this movie came out.
Is that your long
No,
list?
you want to hear the whole list? I can give you the whole list, but then I'm going to steal other people's. And Evan started going.
Let Evan do some.
Go, Evan.
No, I mean, the best part is that you get the out of context. Like, I think you've got lines like "You're drunk, it's disgusting," which is Like that works in any context. But then you've also got like Biggest
Yeah.
Dickus, which that only works in the very specific context of the scene that's happening. And so I'm kind of torn on favorite lines because like he's saying the birds are scrounging. That's one of mine. But again, it only makes sense in that specific context.
What I like is that there's so many just good lines in here. That's why I think it's well written, Matthew, that, I think there's something for everybody. I've got a list of 9, but Matthew, did you have any you noted?
Well, I like the Biggest Dickus line, of course, and I can take that in any context. And I'm a Red Sea pedestrian and proud of it. I love that line.
Evan and Matthew, you both picked ones that I didn't have on my list, so that's great. Sean, anything?
Nice.
I didn't write any down this time, which maybe says a lot about my feelings on this movie.
There's one line that actually isn't funny, but that I really liked. You don't need to follow me. You don't need to follow anybody. Because
That's
it's
not a bad
meaningful.
line.
That's a good line, right?
I mean, for
That
me,
entire
so much
speeches.
the things I actually found funny in this were scenes. So I was actually kind of looking while some of you were talking. It's like, oh, what would my favorite lines be, since I didn't write any of the notes down. And it's hard because, again, I like the haggling scene, but a lot of those individual lines, I don't know they work well outside of the scene.
Yeah, well, maybe you're right. I'll read some of mine, and maybe they're all contextual. Like if you hadn't seen the movie, maybe they don't mean anything. But I like, thanks for the gifts. Don't worry about the myrrh next time. Made me laugh. Blessed are the cheesemakers, of course, hilarious. Well, what he doesn't understand is that the meek are the problem. Remember the meek will inherit the earth scene?
I liked right before that when he was like, "Oh, blessed are the meek." Oh, that's good. They needed something.
I know.
going
And then
for
they
them.
followed up with this line, which was great. How about this, Matthew? Okay, I'm the Messiah. Now fuck off. How shall we fuck off? Obviously, the classic line. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. I liked the whole speech impediment scene. It made me laugh. Maybe it's not supposed to, but strike him, Centurion, very roughly. And of course, release
Throw
Wadja.
him to the floor again.
Okay.
There was, I think we were talking about earlier about like lines that were predictable or like we could tell what was going to happen next. I liked the ones where it was kind of like very obviously telegraphed, like that's what we were supposed to do. Like in the speech impediment scene, when he had the whole list, he goes, "Oh well, for our lines, we've got Sally the Samaritan and Suda," and they went through like all of the S names. And then Biggest Dickus goes, "I'll do it," and instantly
It's all
you
TH
know
ones.
what's going to happen here. Like
Because he
it's
had a different speech impediment.
like you just get hit with the whole thing.
Yeah, clever stuff. Okay, do you guys think this movie was successful at the time?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, according to Box Office Mojo Worldwide, Life of Brian was the 38th biggest earner at the box office in 1979. Kramer vs. Kramer was the biggest earner at the box office this year, and Life of Brian was beat by other great films like Buck Rogers in the 25th Century and The Apple Dumpling Gang from Disney. However, 38th wasn't so bad, actually, for these British guys, and Life of Brian beat out Airport 1979, it beat out Breaking Away, the great Kevin Costner cycling film, and it beat Phantasm, which is the first in a great horror franchise. Evan, we got to do that one.
Well, and everything's
would
got to
love
be
to
in
do
context because I can't imagine this movie was extremely expensive to make, and that probably made it a much more successful film.
Oh, I can tell you, but
I completely disagree. I think this, like, especially compared to Monty Python, this movie felt like it had a much higher budget. Like, I fully believe that all of those sets, everything was fully
it
practical.
did have a higher budget. So the budget for this was $4 million, which
It was 1979. There were only practical back then.
and
So the aliens, those were practical.
Yeah.
so for
And that's where $1 million went.
That's oh wait, I have an aside about.
Wait a
Holy
minute,
Grail.
Evan, are you a horror movie fan?
I love horror movies.
Me too. No, just because Olen said like we have to do the Phantasm, and I watched two horror movies last night, and my husband so sweetly downloaded, like, he is not into horror movies like I'm. Like, I like bad horror movies, and he's just he made me watch yet another fucking Nazi war film, right? So he downloaded me two horror films just to like make me happy.
Well, one of our funnest episodes, and Matthew, I had worn you out with too many episodes. So me, Evan, and Nicole just did Pumpkinhead one day, and that was such a fun episode.
Classic.
And such a fun movie. And yeah, we're getting off track. So budget was $4 million. I can tell you it was the highest grossing British film in the U.S. in 1979, if that gives you any hint. What do you think it returned in the day?
$12 million.
I was gonna say 17.
I'm going to go down the middle. I'm going to go with 15.
Evan, pretty good, 20 million. So, not bad that for $4 million, they delivered $20 million on this film. But I looked it up, and the estimate is that over time, it's earned over $100 million. So it's one of those movies that just keeps going and just keeps earning.
This would say, if this came out today, I would critique this as a movie written for social media and YouTube. Like, it feels like it's so sectioned off and doesn't have an overarching plot that each of these individual gags are meant to be viewed just as the gag, which it does kind of speak to what you guys were saying earlier about it being fundamentally just a bunch of sketch comedy guys trying to write a movie. But, I mean, that wasn't really a thing at all back in 1970, and so I think that wouldn't even be a fair critique. I think that just might be a product of the people who were making the movie.
So Matthew, would you recommend this movie or not to a friend? Okay, no. Sean, would you recommend this movie or not to a friend?
No.
Okay, so our Rotten Tomatoes score here out of us four is 50, right? Because Evan and I would recommend it. You guys would not.
You didn't ask Evan if
No,
he
because I know
recommended
Evan.
I secretly hate it this whole time. I just despise it.
Evan just felt like he needed to back you up on this one.
Someone needed to.
If you recall at the start of the episode, he said he liked it first. He thought he was going to be the only one until I came in. Okay. Yeah. So out of our panel of four, the Rotten Tomatoes score is a 50 here. What do you guys think the overall critic and audience score for this is?
I think it's going to be stupidly high, 80, both.
I was going to say, this feels like it's a dumb enough movie that every single critic's like, no, you don't understand. It's meant to appeal to the masses.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what do you think, Evan? Critics and audience?
75 critics, 80 audience. Is that high? No, it's high, because it's a great movie, and I stand by that.
Okay, this will be fun. Sean, what do you want to go?
85 audience. I'm less confident on critics. I'm gonna go 78 critics.
78 critics. Okay, so before I tell you what the scores are, first I'm going to tell you what you guys got, and lower score wins, right? So Evan, you had a 34, Matthew, you had a 29, and Sean, you had a 26. Sean actually wins with a 26, so none of you were close. Critics, 96.
Damn.
96% of professional critics that watch this movie said get out and see it. 93% of audience. So 93%. It must be a self-selecting group, because I found it so interesting that we're a 50% out of this group. So
it must be a self-selecting.
It's a self-selecting group. It's absolutely.
Yeah. So
right.
that skews it.
Right.
Skews it a little bit. That people that aren't into Monty.
Who are these professional critics of which you speak?
You can look it up, and it's very highly reviewed. So it's not like it's two Monty Python nerds. It's highly reviewed.
It's so interesting. I could see it being like a cultural moment. Like, this is something that you need to see to understand this style of humor.
I'm also
that I feel is the justification for that.
Okay,
I would also be really curious to know if it was that popular when it came out, or is it's one of those things that built a reputation and now everyone who comes across it.
It's the latter. It's been growing in popularity over the years. It's got a cult following, right? Okay, some trivia for you guys. So first of all, I'm sure you noticed this. 6 cast members played 40 characters. And I kind of love that part of Monty Python where you see the same guys in every scene with different characters.
I also actually find that really entertaining, and I think more comedy things should do that, where the same actors played, a character in every scene.
Yeah, I like it when they do that. The studios passed on this originally because of the content, so George Harrison mortgaged his house to raise the money for the movie because he said he wanted to see it. Not a surprise, it was a huge controversy and banned in many countries. It was banned in Ireland, Norway, Singapore, Wales, Scotland. It was banned in Ireland until 1987. So
interesting.
And probably half of this.
Because it was very popular in the States. It was the most popular British film in the States in that year.
They didn't get that it was a satire.
They thought it was an educational film on religion. And because it was banned in Norway, the tagline for the movie in Sweden was "So funny they banned it in Norway."
Nice.
That's funny.
Matthew, the original run
a good move by
in,
Sweden.
the original run in London ran 75 weeks on 4 screens.
Yeah, not surprised. Probably in Trafalgar Square or in Leicester Square.
And what's interesting about this, you can go see this on YouTube, but because there was so much controversy about it, John Cleese and Michael Palin appeared live on BBC in the day to debate a bishop and a religious journalist. And ironically, most of the loudest critics never even saw the movie.
They never do. You know the one good thing about this
Yes.
movie?
The one good thing.
Without this movie, we wouldn't have had a fish called Wanda.
That's true. Yep. Yeah, the cast went on to do a lot of great stuff. You know, John Cleese is
love
great.
Fish
Eric
Called
Idle has a lot of great roles. They're good. Okay, woke or joke? I had an anti-woke. I thought it was really fun, the early stuff in there. And from now on, I want you to call me Loretta. That whole bit. Every man has the right to have babies. You can't have babies. Don't you oppress me.
I found that a little bit ahead of its
That's
time.
what I said. Anti-woke. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
And just a note, John Cleese has famously claimed that modern cancel culture has curbed creativity in comedy.
He's absolutely right.
Yeah, fully.
Because I
agree.
think you couldn't do a speech impediment bit anymore, right?
No.
No, and
I mean,
that was
even the bit that they did with the guards, the one who had the stutter, which
Yeah.
delayed everything, and then when he walked away, he was completely fine talking. Like, even that, I feel like you'd never be able to get away with.
Even that,
I just say make the movies anyway, and if the pussies don't want to go see your film, that's
I agree.
fine.
I agree, but that's more rare these days.
Yeah, all those woke warriors who think that this isn't a good movie. Am I right, Matthew?
Okay, well, however you guys felt about this movie, I promise you there's others who liked it more or less than you. For this movie, there were 190 10-star reviews out of 487 reviews. So that's almost half. Many calling it a masterpiece and the best comedy of all time.
Oh, for
That's
fuck's
a bit
sake.
much. That's
So
a bit
I'm going to read
much.
you just a couple. Film Buff says Life of Brian makes for a great comedy with great laughs, a great story, and an interesting message on top of that. And that's more than enough to call this the greatest comedy ever made.
it's only the people who have seen this in airplane that think that.
No, this movie would be fantastic if you're 9 hours into a 12-hour flight.
Also true.
Little Songbird said, it's joyfully juvenile, extremely rude, and quite quotable. Alice Liddell, I know every scene in line by heart. No, not because I'm one of those Monty Python nerds whose obsessiveness sucks the spirit out of everything they did, but because I've seen it so often. I think that makes you a Monty Python nerd, doesn't it? If you can quote every
I was
line.
going to say, that feels... If you can quote it...
And then,
But she's right. She's right. There's this group of people that are like obsessive Monty Python nerds that like suck the fun out of it.
my favorite 10-star review from someone called Mayonnaise Sandwich. Jesus would approve is the review.
He probably
I
would
was
have actually.
wondering. I was going to say, like, that feels like the kind of... Jesus might love this movie. I don't know him personally, but...
Maybe not. Maybe
feel like
not
he got a good
American
sense of humor.
Jesus.
I
but the
think
real one.
Jesus would like this movie.
No, white Jesus wouldn't like it.
I think he'd like to have a laugh. Now we hear from people who liked it less, and for this movie, there were only 8 people who gave it a 1-star review compared to the 190. Okay, I have just a couple for you. Sundeep says, poor acting, poor story, poor presentation. The entire movie, I just kept waiting for the movie to start.
I don't want to have to defend
That's
this
a pretty
movie,
fair.
but when I feel like poor acting is a little mean because I almost feel like the acting style was very intentional. Whether or not you
they're
like
not
it,
going
that's a
for
different thing, and
believability.
I frequently didn't. But
Yeah, I disagree on the poor acting front.
The next 1-star review, it's worse than boring. It hurts your brain. It's ridiculous, but definitely not funny. I'm glad for not being part of those who understand this stinky piece of feces on your shoe that you only noticed when you're already driving your car in heavy traffic. Wow.
what?
It's very specific. Did that happen to you? That feels like something that happened to you.
Evan was like, what? Evan, I saw Evan's cogs going. He's like, what?
One more interesting one that's a little bit long. Green 74. Whenever I say this film revolts me, people look pityingly at me and say, it offended your religious beliefs. No, I don't have any religious beliefs, but it's far worse than blasphemous. It's inhuman. This film is a blatant and obvious con trick and was always meant to be that. By making schoolboy jokes about Christianity, the Monty Python group pretend they were being terribly daring. They did nothing of the sorts. The jokes are stupid and often very nasty and demeaning, but the brain-dead idiolateurs tell themselves that this was real cutting-edge stuff. The film reeks of contempt for its own fans.
Sounds like it might have offended their religious sensibilities, to be honest.
That's what I think. Still, 8 out of 400 one-star reviews, that's not very many. So that kind of tracks with the Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Maybe I just didn't pick up on it, but it doesn't feel like this movie is directly attacking or even like making fun of Christianity all that much. Like, they make fun of Judea at the time, and they make fun of like a lot of cultural norms in the Roman occupation, but it didn't feel like a lot of pot shots were taken at Christianity.
No, it didn't, and if you'll notice, they didn't make any jokes about Jesus in there, right? Like, that's they made jokes about
Jesus
people,
was just like a good
people and their
figure.
behavior and their mob mentality and all of that. It was more making fun of people and using that as the theme.
I'm going to guess the thing that really got to religious people was the making fun of crucifixion and making light of it.
Well, the thing that got to them was the fact that they probably never even watched it.
That's also probably true.
You can't make light of crucifixion. It's not funny. It happened. There were the robbers on the hill, and one of them got redeemed, and then Jesus came back, which kind of feels like it's insulting to crucifixion, just overall.
Well,
like, he just kind of walked it off.
As my friend Evan
not my
Mallick
business.
says, it's not so bad. You'll get used to it.
Yeah. Day two, there's no nerves left.
True.
Mathew, Siskel and Ebert, do you think they liked this movie?
One of them did, one of them didn't.
Stock answer. Okay. They were both chuckling when discussing the film and genuinely seemed to enjoy it. Siskel defended it against the haters and said it was one of the year's funniest films. Ebert said he didn't see the blasphemy and he called it funny, silly, and enjoyable. 2 thumbs up. They loved it. Okay. Does this movie deserve a remake or sequel?
No.
What would you even do?
Yeah, and that's not out of meanness to the movie. That's just
It's one and done. And in fact, these guys are known for they don't like repeating themselves. They like to pick new topics.
And it's Monty Python. Like, nobody, like, it's very specific. You know what I mean?
Also, would the sequel focus on the continued struggle of the People's Front of Judea? Is that,
Or
what
maybe
are we
it's
doing here?
day 2
I don't think there's enough
crucifixion.
of a plot to justify.
It's the resurrection.
Day 2. It's just
Resurrection.
2 hours of them singing.
Show tunes. they could go into show tunes.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, what's your favorite Monty Python movie out of all of them?
Holy Grail.
Agreed. Holy Grail. Mathew?
You have no choice, Matthew.
None
You
of
have to
them.
pick.
Now, what's the one that goes? It might actually be a Mel Brooks film. The Inquisition. Here we go. The Inquisition. What a show.
Yeah, Matthew's just quoting other films now.
We know you're wishing that we'd go away, but the Inquisition's here and it's here to stay. I think that's Mel Brooks. So,
But
my
no one
favorite
expects
Monty
this
Python movie
Spanish
is
Inquisition. That's Monty Python.
Nobody.
my favorite Monty Python movie is a Mel Brooks movie.
Okay, good answer.
He hates it.
Okay,
Gosh.
well, I'm a little surprised by this one. I have to admit, I thought Sean would not like it. I thought
Mel Brooks' History of the World. That's my
that's a
favorite
great
Monty
film.
Python
It's a
film.
great film.
Yeah.
Hold the pee bucket for me. I thought Matthew was going to like this. I thought Sean was going to not like this, and I thought Evan was going to like it. So I was a little off the mark.
You were.
Conclusion. Do you guys think this movie is too old or pure gold?
So I think it's gold as a cultural artifact behind a piece of glass in a museum versus trying to sit down to watch it in 2026.
That's fair.
That's how I felt before I rewatched this movie. Like, I think it really sums up Monty Python's humor quite well. I think it makes fun of the time period really well. But there are quite a few, I think, legitimately very funny bits. I found myself thoroughly enjoying it the whole time, except for the alien scene. So I would say, yes, I agree wholeheartedly gold, but I think I would give it a little bit of credit. Maybe an interactive museum exhibit.
Yeah. But you know what, though? I actually feel bad for not liking Monty Python because I like all the actors so much and so much of the other stuff that they've done that me, like, dissing Monty Python, I actually feel bad.
That's the magic of Monty
And
Python.
that's the magic of the podcast. Well, for me, I You guys can tell I loved it. I thought it was a great rewatch, and I would rewatch it again in a couple of years. It always entertains me. I love the little jokes in it, and I actually think it's very relevant for the world today. You know, its observations on the way people behave, I think, are pretty relevant for today, and ahead of its time in a lot of ways. With all of that, you know, I want to be called Loretta stuff, like very prescient. For me, it's gold. Sean, you get the last word here.
Well, the cultural piece is interesting that Mathew was talking about, but I don't know that I would agree with this is the one, right? If you were trying to show off this style of humor, this era, right? If someone came to you and asked to, you know, help me understand Monty Python, or I want to know about that style of humor, I don't think, well, I would never give this one as the movie. You know, to me, it would be either of the other ones, I think, would be a better choice. So I think this one's just told.
I didn't say the one. I once took my mom to the Royal Ontario Museum, and I'd taken her to like Paris and Russia and everything. And I said, "What do you think?" She said, "Everything in the main showcases here are like what would be dusty and under the stairwell in the Louvre." So I've said it's in a museum. I didn't say it's the Mona Lisa.
Fair point.
It's in that like kind of back room with the weird carpeting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And cat pee smell.
And I have to admit, I'm now kind of curious to rewatch one of the other two, like probably the Holy Grail, because, you know, we've talked a few times about the times and the way people respond in crowds and stuff. I feel like some of those other, in my memory, I feel like some of those other ones did that better as well.
You should go rewatch them.
Holy Grail to me
I should.
gives such student film vibes. It's just like fundamentally like the Monty Python crew after Holy Grail talks about how like they ran out of money, they ran out of budget. That's why they had to like animate and draw some of the scenes. Like they just had nothing left. And then you watch the movie and you get to the enchanter scene. And there's just an explosion every half line that has nothing to do with the dialogue. It'll be like, "I'm the enchanter," and turn around and go, "Fireball," and then something will blow up. And it's like, that's why you ran out of budget. You've got a scene that's got 17 explosions that could have gone with 0. Like, there's just no reason. He goes, boom, fire, just like in the middle of his sentence. And that, I'm watching that, and I'm like, this is exactly what somebody at NYU would have done. If you're making your first like ever like educational film, you're just going to do as many pyrotechnics as possible. Like they got like a thing of fireworks and they're like, we're going to use all of them.
The way you did that, then I just picture you like when I see that when you arrived at a party, that's what you do when you walk in the door. "I'm the enchanter. Fireball,
Fireball.
Make an entrance.
Just whip out a fireball and down it.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
it's a great spell. It's a summoning spell.
Well, I have to say, you know, some of the episodes where we all agree aren't as interesting to me as the ones where we don't completely agree. So this was a fun episode. I was glad to do this one. At least I enjoyed it. And I think we can conclude these are talented guys, right? Even if this movie didn't land with you.
Of course they
These are
are.
very
Absolutely.
talented guys, and
course
we're
they are.
glad they exist.
And you can even see it in this
Absolutely.
movie. They're very talented.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like it's a strong opinion to say otherwise. No,
Yeah,
not
it
only are
would
they
be.
not talented, but I hope that they don't exist. I wish that they did. It's like that's a lot. I know you didn't like the movie, but
Maybe it wasn't such a bold statement, but thank you guys for doing this one with me. Evan, nice to see you on the podcast again. Thanks for helping out.
happy to be back. Looking forward to if we do Phantasm.
yeah,
I'm
I'll-
always
I'll-
down for a horror movie. I just watched Paranormal
I'll put you
Activity.
in for Phantasm. That is a great old classic. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you, Sean.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye,